Hello, it's Andrew Eborn here again with another episode of Lives on Lockdown. Hi, it's Andrew Eborn here. Welcome back to another Lives on Lockdown. I'm delighted to be joined by John Pompey. How are you doing, John?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Andy. Not too bad at all.
It's great to see you. So tell me, how are you surviving in life on lockdown?
Well, how can I put it? No football, no pubs, no customers, but we're doing online and we're getting muddling through. We had a grant from the government and things like that, and I've put staff on furlough. But even so, it's a nightmare because you don't know what the landscape's going to be like afterwards, how business is going to be, how it's going to perform, who's going to have money, who's not going to have money, who's going to have jobs. The whole landscape's going to be a nightmare.
It's a complete nightmare, isn't it? And there's three aspects which we should touch on. One is you run this fantastic bookshop. You can tell us about that. The other, there's a certain football team I believe you might support. And the third is our history. Let's talk about the bookshop first of all. Tell us about the bookshop.
Well, my father worked for Francis Edwards in London, which was the first purpose-built bookshop in the UK at the time. And anyway, he was 9 years older than my mum. And funny enough, she was earning more than him. And of course, those days, that was a bit of a no-no. So he asked for a pay rise, they declined. He went to other bookshops in London to see if they would take him on, but they had like a closed shop agreement, but they wouldn't. Saw the job advertised in Petersfield to be manager of the Petersfield bookshop. Came down to have a look. Fell in love with the town, and the rest is history, really. Anyway, about 6 months later, all the London bookshop dealers have come down and said, "Would you like to come and work for us?" And he said, "Well, you didn't want us then. I set up yours, basically." And he stayed on. Mrs. Field, she encouraged him to stay, and but about a year later, she decided to sell up. So we had to find somewhere, and he got the present location. There was an old chap. There was a old antiques dealer called Old Faithful in List, who lives near Petersfield, and he was determined to keep a bookshop in the town. So he lent my father £1,000, which was a hell of a lot of money in the 50s. There was no interest to pay. He just wanted the money, but no time limits and all that sort of thing. But then business was different in those days, and it was done on a handshake. And anyway, bought the present site, and the first thing he did was it was out on its own on a limb on the edge of town, and it was an old delivery, horse delivery place.
Right.
And anyway, bought it. It was all full of saddles, and he chucked all those out. And then over the years, he expanded, and you couldn't get a shop big enough because everyone wanted books, didn't have the internet, so anyone's source of information was through the bookshop. And he bought the warehouse at the back, which used to be a slaughterhouse. Before that, used to be a wholesale retailer and all this sort of thing. And it's had quite a history. And he got the royal warrant from the Queen and from Prince Charles. He did magnificently well. And then, of course, the tide turned with the advent of the internet, and things have gone the other way. And we've had to decrease the size of it by creating retail outlets, which we let out to other people, which help with the running costs. Because being a standalone bookseller, you wouldn't make money doing it these days. You think there used to be about 1,200 independent second-hand bookshops between 20 and 30 years ago. It's not even 200 now. And most of those are people going to retire. You don't get much young blood coming through. But I'm so proud of what my father created, and I love, I've been brought up with books all my life, ever since I was a kid. But, I'm lucky to have two passions. I've got the passion of the bookshop and the football. Yeah. But I'm so proud of what
fantastic. And you're right, John. I mean, it's extraordinary times, but even before the lockdown, it must have been very tough for the independent people, because you get a lot of people now, and we've got some great bookshops near us. We have there's a chain called Daunt's Bookshop, which is fantastic. So traditional old bookshop where you have lots and lots of every possible title you can imagine, and people just go in and breathe the books. But the trouble is that a lot of people will go in, they'll find the book they want, and they'll go and then look on the internet and see it's a lot cheaper. That must be destroying a lot of people's business, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, even nowadays you can source anything on the internet, and books now. I mean, we buy hundreds. I mean, when I say buy, we clear literally, I've become more of a clearance person than the book buyer, because there's no money in it. By the time you put the labour in and you've priced them and you've done all that, the actual cost of the books, we actually make more on the postage. We're selling books between a penny and 25p. Those are the ones we sell online on a system called Monsoon. It's a statistical seller. It's just a commodity seller. You could sell anything on it, basically. Pick and pack them, post them. And then obviously the better antiquarian books we sell online as well, but we have a different format for those and a different and then obviously the shop, what we sell in the shop, but it is so difficult nowadays. Everything used to have like a set price. Every book you could pick it up and you think, oh, £20, £30, £40, £100, £1,000 book. But nowadays it's just changed, and things go in and out of vogue so quickly at the press of a button. It's just unbelievable, and all that knowledge we've got, I've had to relearn it all again over the years, because you know the actual cost of books is anyone's guess these days, really.
Yeah,
and it is like,
from, I mean, even from an author's point of view. I mean, most books, the people believe that if you sell lots and lots of books, you get J.K. Rowling, stuff like that, all authors are making fortunes. The reality is, the vast majority, and the hours and hours, sometimes years you put in, is way less than the minimum wage, isn't it, by the time you get any return?
oh, it's absolutely, yeah, exactly. And you think of the overheads, you've got the overheads of the shop, and we've got a big rambling bookshop. We've got the lighting, the heating, the insurance, etc. And there's just so much. I mean, even the bins and things like this, but those bills have to be paid, and they never go down; they just increase. But of course, our footfall decreases, so we've created retail outlet units where we get money from them, and we're looking at various other things. We want to get a mobile library, or mobile bookshops. We can go out to all the villages around, maybe once a week, and if they won't come to us, we'll go to them, that sort of thing. We're going to create an events room so we can have amateur groups in, things like that, because that type of person would like books, etc. We're going to invite schools in, and there's a lot of things we want to do, but first, obviously, we've just got to get the shop to stand alone as it is. And we're teetering. We were teetering the retail. I mean, the high street was teetering before this. It was on its knees anyway. How it's going to come out of this, I don't know. I think there's quite a few shops that just won't open again. Yeah. I know one shop just up the road. She's got this grant, and she's decided her contracts had run out on the rental side of it, so she's put the money in to do something else online now. She's given up with the shop. I know a couple of other shops around town aren't opening. It's quite scary, and that's in a town like Petersfield, which is quite an affluent town. But God knows what it's going to be like around the country. It's going to be horrendous. The restaurants and the bars, and of course, once all these shops, I said the high street was there wouldn't be a high street in 10 years. I think that'd be 5 years. You'd always have your hairdressers, and you'd have your coffee shops, and you have this sort of stuff. But even they're going to find a struggle. But there's the sort of things you can't do on the internet. They'll be there. But retail, I mean, how do you compete with the online? And of course, now it's fallen right into their hands, because everyone's online. That's all you could do. So Amazon and things like this are laughing their socks off, and they've even enticed people now who weren't internet savvy, like the elderly and stuff like that. The only way they could buy things was going on the internet, so they're going to get in the habit of it. So God knows how it's going to pan out after. It's quite frightening, really, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, terrifying for a lot of businesses. But I think what you find as well, the differentiator is the fact that you can go into certain shops and you get the whole atmosphere. It's an experience. It's a leisure time shopping. So going into your bookshop and browsing obviously is tremendous for people, isn't it?
Well, that's what we've tried to do. We've tried to turn it into an event. When you go around, we've got telephone boxes, we've got a phone box where we keep our science fiction films, we've got animal skins on the ceiling, we've got typewriters, we've got all things that the younger generation just wouldn't see. So it's an event, and to try and capture their imagination when they do go, is when they pick up a book, they might become readers. And you can't just rely on the books these days. You've got to try other things. Trying to get them in, that's the thing, and then it's trying to keep them there. And we do offers, and we funny enough, we've had 2 viral things, because it went viral with us in January. We thought we were on the brink then, and just from a pass away tweet, we ended up going viral worldwide, and our Twitter following went from 1,200 up to 22,000, And that has helped us in this pandemic, because with those Twitter followers, we've been having good sales with them, because obviously they've booked people, and we've done well out of that. So that was quite bizarre in that case. We've had 2 viral events in the course of a few months, but you know, other people I hear from other businesses and things like that. It's not just the high street. It's all these other businesses. It's everything. And once people lose their jobs, are they going to have the money to spend on retail when they come out? Are they going to buy things? Of course they're not. They're going to be thinking about paying their mortgages and putting food on the table.
Yeah.
And everyone says, oh, about health. Is it health or is it wealth? But they forget wealth is health. If you don't have wealth, you don't have the taxes to pay for the NHS. This is where people are getting completely and utterly wrong in their heads. We're a civilized society who relies on health, and that's why we've got such a good health care system. But that's down through people working and paying their taxes. So there comes to the point where we've got to go to work. The healthy population has got to go to work. The vulnerable and the elderly, we've got to look after them, but they're the ones who should be quarantined or got to be isolated, not the healthy working people. You look statistically, it's not the healthy who are dying. It is the elderly, the vulnerable, the one with underlying health conditions. And this is what I can't get around my head. Yes, there's a danger, there's a risk, but there's a risk in life. If you take the risk out of life, and I think, I mean, our country was a bit wet before we started this. I mean, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't do that. But now it's going to be even worse with masks and everything. It's going to be a surreal world. I mean, it's going to be so wet. It's going to be so. Everyone's going to be paranoid.
Yeah, well, and that's always the biggest thing, isn't it? What spreads more than anything is fear. It's so deceiving. It's actually the most powerful sales thing of all, is that when the pandemic started, people panicked. They panicked buy. They bought all the toilet rolls, they bought the pasta, they took all the disinfectants and that sort of stuff. Because fear can sell more than anything. And what the media love, they love the scare stories, don't they?
Oh, the media, they've been ramping up. They love it. Well, they've got nothing else to sell papers. There's no other news about, so they've got to play on the fear side of it, and they have. And in fact, I think the media have been pretty abysmal throughout the whole thing. I think everyone should have been in this together. I think the politicians should have been more together in it. This wasn't about political advances or scoring political points. This should have been about benefit of the country and the people. The very foundations of our country was at stake, and they shouldn't have been going saying that, oh, if we'd done this and we'd done that. But we didn't. We'd never had a situation like this before. No government has ever had to react to this before. So just get on with it, join together and help each other out. But don't keep squabbling like a bunch of kids. But with the media and the politicians, this country's becoming an embarrassment, if I'm honest, sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's so good to have what we've been doing in this series is talking to people around the world. I was talking to people in Zambia yesterday about how they've approached the situation. I was speaking to people in Australia. So it's literally been the A to Z around the world. And what's extraordinary, John, as well, is that the general people, the people, everyday heroes, if you like, are the ones who become the genuine heroes in this situation. Forget the celebrities, forget the other bits and pieces. The real heroes, people like Sir Tom Moore, who's now Sir Tom Moore, who basically just walked up and down his garden for his 100th birthday and raised over 33 million for the NHS. That's got to be good, isn't it?
Well, it is good. It just shows that the common man, the working class man, is what builds this country. The celebrities, the politicians, they might tell us what to do, but without the working man, the country would be nothing. I mean, you get these celebrities showing their big homes and all this sort of stuff on it. Who cares? Why would you do such a thing when there's people suffering out there? And the other thing I can't get my head around is why people couldn't go out into the parks and sunbathe and sit on park benches when they were self-isolated. It's okay for the people who've got gardens, and okay for the people but there was people in flats, high-rise flats, who needed a bit of sunlight, who needed to sit on a park bench for half an hour and then go back to their screaming kids and dogs or whatever. And these people were slaughtering people for sitting on park benches. As long as they were 2 meters apart, who cared? And it seems to be one rule for the rich and the famous and one rule for the I mean, look at this Dominic Cummings and all this sort of stuff. He's put a big spanner in the works. And there's no excuse for it. And that other scientific chap, whatever he did, it's just unbelievable, really, how that they expect us the great British public, who the country wouldn't run without us, without the high streets, without your road diggers, without your builders, without your labourers, without your NHS. I mean, the politicians, all the celebrities, they're just a waste of space, if I'm honest. And they've proved that again in a pandemic, when they should be coming to the forefront. They should be leading. They haven't led. They've done nothing. There's been more confusion and anything I can see. And I like Boris Johnson, funnily enough. He's a good orator. He speaks well, and you need that in these times of madness. But the rest of them, they're just a shambles, if I'm honest. It is quite disgusting. I mean, this country, I mean, Brexit was an embarrassment. I wanted Brexit, and I'm dead chuffed. But it was all the ulterior motives, and it's all that cliquey class at the top, that 1%, that London elite. I can't stand them. I really can't stand them. It's nothing to do with the people. It's all about what they can make out of it, how they can do well out of it. The people, we're just the oi polloi. They don't like. They just, all they want to do is how much tax they can get out of how much money, and that's it. They don't care about the people, and they've shown that over and over again. It's all about self-interest at the top. This country is quite important sometimes.
And the sad thing, I mean, you hit something exactly there, John, is that the sad thing is it's the message. The message hasn't been consistent, has it? Because people, as you say, people want to go out, and as long as you're 2 meters apart, where's the risk? And then you do get exceptional situations where you get Dominic comings and goings all the way up to Durham. What's that about? And he might have his explanation, but unless you make it really clear, Sultan's a spin, and it's all about spin and toying with the media and that sort of stuff. You've got to be really clear to the people. This is what you can do. This is why you can do it. And this is why you can't do it. Because otherwise it's going to add to confusion, isn't it?
It has, and it has added to the confusion. There needs to be more clarity about it, without a doubt. And but it's all very well saying that now. Now we've just got to get on and deal with it, and get the country back working, and get the economy buzzing. Because if we don't, there's going to be so many more problems. I mean, you look at the social problems you're going to have, like the alcoholism, the obeseness, the domestic violence, the charities now who can't help the front line, really down and trodden people. It's going to be a nightmare, if I'm honest. And people with heart attacks and cancers who aren't being treated, who are going to die, and their government's going. There's going to be lots more people that die who wouldn't have died. I wouldn't have liked to have been in the situation of Boris or the government, I must admit, but that's why I'm not a politician. But they haven't made a very good job of it, and they were caught on the hop. And you just thought there'd have been a bit more. I mean, we had 2 or 3 weeks advance notice as well. I think that was embarrassing about it all. You'd think they would have done something more, and they were even having sporting events and things like Liverpool playing Atletico Madrid and Cheltenham and all this sort of stuff. And that doesn't make sense. None of it made sense, especially if they've pre-planned this in the past, if these things happen. But there again, it all goes to the Chinese. Look at them, they lied their back teeth off. I mean, they're just a disgrace, if I'm honest. I mean, they've lied and lied and lied, but there again, regimes like that don't know anything else but how to lie. I mean, it all started there. Obviously started, I think, in one of their laboratories. I mean, it was already, all the evidence is that even when it came into the Wuhan market, it could jump from, it hadn't come from an animal, it had already been. So there's more to it than meets the eye. And they'll make the most out of it. I mean, the Chinese, they don't care how many people die. That regime doesn't care. The Chinese people are lovely people, and that's why I feel sorry. They've been run by tyrants. But it is the way of the world. People are expendable, and in countries like that, and that's where it originated from. But we were slow on the uptake.
And I think the sad thing as well, John, is that I've been speaking to people in lots of different countries, and they're all approaching it differently. And I think what happens is all the people who were experts about Constitution a few weeks ago, all of a sudden everybody on social media has become a virologist. They're all experts on how it started, where it started, all these crazy theories that some people have about 5G and do this and inject disinfectant, all that sort of rubbish that goes on. The reality is history will show you what the right bit is. You cut through all the rubbish, you cut through the bits and pieces, get the evidence, and then people can see exactly what's going on, can't they?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's like too many cooks spoil the broth. There's been too many people trying to drive the same car. That's the problem. And everyone else has hindered everyone by having these silly spats and arguments. And like, as I was saying earlier on, if all the politicians and all these so-called experts had just pulled together and tried to get an end result, it wasn't about it shouldn't have been about their personal agendas. It shouldn't have been about, oh, how clever they are. Look at them. They know this and they know that. It should have been about getting the bloody country working again and doing the best for the people. But none of them seem to care. It's all about their own, what they can get out of it, how clever they can be seen to be. It's just madness.
Yeah. No, it's crazy from that point of view. So your bookshop at the moment, so you've had to furlough the staff. How many people did you have on staff?
Well, we had 2 full-timers and 1 part-time, and I furloughed them. And they'll be, one of them's going to come back on the 15th if the spike doesn't go up and we can open, and then I'm going to keep the other one furloughed. So there's no point bringing 2 people back if we're not taking the money. That's the problem. I'm going to see how the land lies. But you can't plan anything at the moment. One thing in business, normally you can look forward, you can plan, and you've got a rough idea, but no one knows what's going to happen after this.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that was the one good thing about the government. I must admit, without the grant, we'd have been absolutely stuffed. But that's only going to last that's not going to last for long. Yeah. And that could all be gone by the end of the year. And then there's just, you don't know what's going to happen at the end of it. If we get a second wave, or we have to shut down more, it's absolutely madness, if I'm honest. But I mean, it is a pandemic. It's one of those things. We've all got to get on with it. And everyone, the general public seems to be getting on with it. It's the leaders and the people at the top. They need to just put their heads together and agree with something.
And I think from the positive side, if there's ever a positive in this, is that you do a viral campaign. Now, tell me about those, because you've now got the world looking at this little bookshop in Petersfield, fantastic history. They're suddenly realizing that actually you've now opened up a global audience, not just the people who go into the bookshop, but a global audience who will look at the sort of books that you stock, and we'll put all the details up there. They're finding about you as a fantastic character, brilliantly eloquent and also newsworthy and that sort of stuff. Tell me about the viral campaigns. What happened there, and how did that come about?
Well, that was bizarre. It was one day in January. It'd been a rainy day, and I'd had bills coming in which I didn't know how I was going to pay, quite big bills. And I really was thinking, how the hell are we going to get out of this? I mean, we've been struggling for the last 17 years, and we've had to rob Peter to pay Paul all the time. And every month of every year has been a nightmare, and with loans and whatever, and buying things that we had to take risks on just to make short-term profits and all this sort of thing. But how we've got through, but I really thought the end had come. And then Rob just put this tweet out saying tumbleweed, not one book sold all day in the shop, which was a first. And it was just it was picked up by a local author, Matt Wingert, and he put it out on his thing, and it was picked up by a Neil Gaiman fantasy writer, and it just went viral. And anyway, Rob's rang me during the evening and said, have you seen what's going on? I mean, bear in mind, we had our sale on, we normally get 2 or 3 orders a day if we're lucky. And we went in the shop the following day, we had about 150 orders. We had all these TV companies ringing up, we had all these radio companies ringing up from around the world. So Rob was fielding the radio, I was fielding the TV, and all these orders were piling up. And of course, the provider, you get a certain amount, about 4 days to get all these orders sorted. But we couldn't do anything, because for the next 48 hours, the shop was like a film set. And but we couldn't say no, because obviously the exposure, you can't turn it down as a small business. But every time it went out on the One Show or the ITV or the BBC, we had another influx of orders. We ended up with about 300 to 400 orders in the space of 3 or 4 days. We had to pack all these things. But lucky enough, the provider saw what happened. They said, look, we'll process them, you just got to get them packed. And it was just madness. But what was lovely about it, we were getting letters and parcels from people around the world, sending us books, sending us money, sending us good wishes. people were coming in from all over the country. It was just madness. And the other shops by us were, they were generating business off the back of it as well. And it went on for a couple of weeks, and our Twitter following went up from 1,200 to 22,000. And obviously, target market as well. It was just fantastic. It was surreal. It was like being in a Hollywood movie. I still can't believe it happened, if I'm honest. I still feel as I'm about an event that I wasn't in. I've just watched from the outside because it was bizarre, and it went just like that. But,
and it's one of the great stories, as you say. So, and on that sort of basis, because you are such a glorious gift to the media, you're a real character, and the media love to have characters.
Well, I'm just, I wouldn't say I'm a character. I'm a bookseller and a Pompey fan, and I'm just passionate about life. I'm lucky to have two passions in my life. My father had the passion for the books, and mine's a passion for the football. But they complement each other so well. It's like Jekyll and Hyde, because the books is a nice, quiet, sedate. I mean, obviously it's got its stresses and strains of business, etc. It's the quiet, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, and we got such lovely customers, and the book trade is like it's just such an old way of dealing. It's like going back a few decades. It's still retained that lovely personal service, and then you get to the football, and that's the madness.
So tell me about the football, John. Talk to me about how you first got this passion. Talk to me about how that first happened.
Well, when I was younger, I was at school at Lord Rogers College with all you guys.
There you go. We were schoolmates. That was the third thing. So that's how we knew each other.
And but everyone was Man United and Liverpool and Arsenal and all this. And there was a chap called John Parrott there, and he was a Pompey fan. Everyone was sort of taking the mickey out. I was like, hold on a sec, that's my local club. And I went to see him, and I remember the first game I went to see him. And it was funny enough, we were in the 3rd division, and we were getting crowds of 7,000 or 8,000. I went to see him, so we got 32,000 at Brighton. And I'll never forget the atmosphere and the passion. But if I'm honest, being a young man and the fear, because there was all these big, hairy blokes who wanted to fight. The crowd was madness. And in those days, there were skinners. I've never seen so many dangerous-looking people in one place. But it was just, but from a young man, and that macho side of it, it was fantastic, even if it was scary. And if I'm honest, it wasn't the football; it was just the atmosphere and the belonging. And I knew from that moment, that first game, that's what I wanted for the rest of my life. It was just awesome. And Pompey's like that itself, though. It's a proper working class city. It's located on an island. It's the only island city in the country. But there's two things in Pompey. You've got your football club, and you've got the most famous dockyard in the world, where the empire was built from, Portsmouth dockyard. But the heartbeat of the city is the football club. It's what everyone talks about. And you walk around Pompey, all you see is Pompey shirts. It's really, and it's got that island mentality, and it's just something. It's raw, it's passionate, and Pompey's a rough, tough city. It's I think most naval ports are, but people in Pompey like a fight, like the football, and they like a drink. That's Pompey for you. But it's a proper city, proper people, and once you get to know the people of Pompey, they're proper work people, and they look after each other, and some of the top people in government could do with more of their attributes, if I'm honest.
And how are you finding it at the moment? I mean, obviously, passionate, you're going to all the matches and that sort of stuff. How are you finding it without football?
Oh, don't. It's doing my head in. It is really life of that football. I mean, I knew I loved Pompey Football Club, but now I've realised how much. It's just, I can't live without it. You think, but like ever since I was 13 years old, all I've thought about is Pompey Football Club, and my life has revolved around the club. Every Saturday, every Tuesday, whenever Pompey's playing, whether it's friendlies, I don't do weddings, I don't do anything like that. My girlfriends they've all known that if they can't accept football, then that's it. My first wife, I said, "You sure you want to marry me? Because if you don't bother, because you'll be marrying Portsmouth Football Club." And it is, I mean, people who don't understand football, who don't understand it, won't understand what I'm saying, but it becomes a life, becomes a second family. I've travelled around the world and around the country with my second family. I've known lads for 40 odd years, and when we were younger, we had to watch each other's backs. I've never gone to football for trouble in my life, but in those days, it was just everywhere. You couldn't help but escape it. I mean, I've been bottled, I've been bricked, I've been stabbed, I've been everything. But that's what made you feel you did all that for your club. It was bizarre, and even though that type of fan, and it was wrong what happened in those days, and there was a fear factor to it, but the whole country was in turmoil. You had riots everywhere, you had miners' strikes, you had this, but it was just that type of culture at the time. And football was a man's thing. You didn't really have women and children at football. It was geezers. They just wanted to fight each other and watch football. And but it made you part of it. It made you feel part of the family, part of the club. And you got beaten up, you got arrested, things happened, but you did it for your club. So it was like a badge of honour, and it was wrong, but it was right, if you understand what I mean. It's difficult to describe it, but it was like having a second family, and it taught you all about lots of things in life. It taught you about loyalty. It taught you about you can't have everything on a plate at once. You got to work hard for things, and life isn't just throwing money at stuff like it is nowadays with football. Nowadays, they think football's about winning or losing. Football's far more important than that. It's been involved to being part of something. It's your identity, it's where you're from, it's your mates, it's your area, it's your pride. And football is, you think humans are very tribal. We used to have wars, and young men and legions of men were involved in fighting and killing. Well, football's taken over that. Now young men are on the terraces. And in those days, they were fighting for their club. I mean, they'd been instilled with all this anger in them. They'd been brought up in the First World War, Second World War. The country and the government thought they were great when they were on the front line getting killed and killing other people. But of course, all that is still in their DNA. It's still in their testosterone. It's still there. And that's why you've had all this violence and you've had all these things. But humans are very tribal. And football feeds that tribal thing in, especially young men, especially the males of the species. It just fits all the boxes: the drinking, the banter.
And as you say, John, the difficulty is now without football, you've got no release for that, have you?
No, I know. And I don't even know what day of the week it is. Normally I'm thinking, oh, it's 2 days till Saturday, 2 days till Tuesday. It's absolutely bizarre. And we don't know when it's going to be back. All I do know is if it's even if it's behind closed doors, whatever city it's in, behind closed doors, I'll be there. Whether it's in a car, in a street, but watching it on iPhone or whatever, I'll be there because I've got to be in the vicinity. Obviously, you can't go in the grounds and stuff like that. And but it's doing my head in. And if I'm honest, personally, I'd rather the games not be played because I want to be there. And football without fans isn't right. Football without fans in the ground, without the atmosphere, isn't right. I've been in games before when there's been no fans. It's just poor.
It's the same with the players as well. I mean, and I've been talking to not just people in the sporting world, but also musicians who are used to playing massive stadia. They work on that sort of basis. They feed off the crowd, and if you don't have the crowd, it's not the same game, is it?
Well, that's what society is all about. We feed off each other. The crowd feeds off the players feed off the crowd, whether it's an actor on the stage or the crowd in the stage. That's what makes the human race what it is. It is interaction. It is being out there. It is being sociable. It is mingling. It is that's what I hate about the modern world. That's what I hate about the internet and about all this sort of stuff. And kids staying in their rooms. They're not out and about. They're not socialising. They're not doing things. Humans weren't built to be like that. We were built to be outside, not behind a computer screen, not to be. We were out to be in crowds. We were out to be doing things, playing football, running around, and that is what has been so horrible about this pandemic. Yeah. Being locked in our own rooms. It's horrendous. And I would personally, even if I was in my 80s, I'd rather just be out and take my risks. What's the point of living if you're going to exist? There's no point living to exist. Living is to live. And if there's risk, whole point of life, there's more chance of people in the younger people that getting run over in the street than dying from this pandemic. We can tell that statistically. And yes, it's unfortunate about the old people. Yes, it's unfortunate about the vulnerable people, but that's nature. That's life. People die. People live. Life is, as soon as you're born, you're going to die. But you can't stop a country. Bear with a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rob, I'm doing an interview.
Well, that was Rob. He's working hard behind the scenes. It's all good.
Not there. No. That's that.
But you're right. I mean, it needs that sort of passion, as you say. And talking of passion, I mean, you changed. Tell me about the change of name, your change of name by deed poll.
Well, at the end of the day, it is my life. Portsmouth
When
is
did
my
you
life.
do it? You changed it. What was the year you changed your name by deed?
No, it was the year 89. I'd just been married. And then I went back a few months later and told my missus, oh, by the way, I've changed my name to John Anthony Portsmouth Football Club Westwood. She means that, that didn't go down too well. But no, it was my life. And I thought I had to incorporate it in my life. I mean, everything in my life is for Pompey. My bike, even my bike's got number plates on it with Pompey. My van's got number plates on it with Pompey. My bedroom in my house, in my flat, I had to sell my flat I live on a camp bed just here, actually. In the evenings because I've had to sell the flat to keep the shop going. We got planning permission to build the flats, but everything, and that flat used to be just wall to ceiling with football, the carpets, the football, the curtains, the scarves all over. So it is my life. It's bizarre, and I've given up so much for the football. I've had to be selfish about it in ways, and not through the family. Family have always understood. So I've never. I mean, it used to be work 5 days a week, and then football on the Saturday, taking the kids out on the Sundays, and all that sort of stuff. But it's difficult to put it in words. It's just something that grabs you. And once Pompey, especially Pompey's a football club, it is a different club to a lot of other clubs. It's a proper club. I mean, I've taken loads of lads who never interested in football, and I've taken them down to Pompey, and they become lifelong fans. I've known fans from other clubs come to Pompey and become lifelong fans. Because it's that sort of club. Once it gets you, it grabs you, and it won't let you out.
Yeah. And as you say, the fans are the lifeblood of the clubs, aren't they?
Well, especially Pompey. And you think we are the 12th man. We're the only club that's bought the only fans that have bought a club of Pompey's stature and made it sustainable. And then we were bought by the Eisners. But for fans to go and buy a club the size of Pompey, we're always best at singing, we're always best at this. I mean, even though I wasn't involved in it, we always had one of the best mobs. It was whatever Pompey fans set their minds to do, they do it. And the atmosphere-wise, we've always been second to none. But lots of clubs can sing and make a noise and all this. But when it's backs against the wall and when they need it, that's when real supporters support. Anyone can sing when a club doing well. That always makes me giggle. But Pompey is when we're doing bad. And when we're backs against the wall and when we're down at the bottom, that's when not another club can touch us like that.
No, brilliant stuff. So when I phoned you a couple of days ago, you were having another tattoo, or you're having a tattoo tidied up. How many tattoos have you got now?
Oh God, I don't count. I've got them all over my head and my neck and everywhere. I'm going to get a load more done. I want to get my whole body done eventually, completely done. My face eventually, but obviously I can't do that at the moment when I'm at work. Because when I'm at work, you don't see any of this. It's all covered up. I wear a waistcoat and a shirt and a tie, but still blue and white, obviously Pompey. But you don't see the tattoos apart from the ones on my hands, really. So, tattoos have become more acceptable over the years. And
what was the first one you had, John?
The first one I had was on my forearm there, with the sailor, with the anchor going down. And that was funny enough. I was 25.
Okay, it was quite late.
It was quite late, and I always wanted them done, but I was all scared of needles. And I saw my mates, they used to have them with remember the old needles and stuff, and they'd stab each other and do, no, I'm not having that. They looked atrocious. But I always wanted them. Once I had one done, that was it. Just went for them.
Just kept going. No, fantastic.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
No, you're all there, which is good. Now, you remember, we went, as you rightly said, we went to school together many moons ago. And what do you have a favourite memory of school?
Leaving it. No, if I look back on Lord Wandsworth, and I must admit, it was an opportunity missed for me because you had all the facilities, we had top quality education, but I was so much of a rebel, and I didn't want to be a boarder, and I didn't want to go to school, and they were so strict. I remember I woke up every single day, and I thought, I wonder what I can do today to piss them off. Every single day, I used to write. It was just a silly little thing. It was just every day I'd do something, and but I must admit, when I was younger, I'll never forget. I had to go and see this psychiatrist. I had a bit of behavioural problems and all this sort of stuff. Blah blah blah. I went to see this psychiatrist, and this was while I think it was while I was at Lord Wandsworth College, and it was great actually because he said he made me do all this writing and stuff like this, and I thought, hold on, I'm getting a day off here to go and see this psychiatrist. So everything he said I did. Oh, your writing's like this and like that. I just played up on it. So I was going to see him every 1 day a week for about a year. Everything he said he did, I just did it more. I thought, I'm giving you these little blue tablets, and it was great because they were blue and they were Pompey colours. It just played into my hands, and it was. It was good. But one of the funniest stories I remember there were so many at Lord Wandsworth College, and people who went there really. If I'm honest, it was great. I loved my time there. The friends I made and the people we met there, and when I first went, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a bit snobby, and this is going to be a bit. But our year wasn't. Everyone was just so down to earth. It was great. Everyone was up for a laugh, and everyone was a bit. That was good, but I never forget one of the funniest things, and it's not even that bad, but one of the funniest things I ever do. Remember, you had to pee in a glass, and you had to put that litmus paper in.
Oh, absolutely.
And we had Miss Porter as our nurse. Anyway, I've gone down and I didn't pee in, I put Lucasade in it and let it just all the bubbles go out. So I've gone down to her. And she's put a litmus paper in it. It's gone, man, it's gone, my God, it's full of sugar and all this sort of stuff. I said, you sure? There's nothing wrong with that. I've got it, and I drunk it down in one. And she was a silly little thing. It's great. I mean, another time when I was at Lord's, I was desperate to see Pompey play. So I got a knife and I cut my leg open so I could get the Saturday off. Pompey at home to Norwich in the FA Cup. So I cut my leg, got home, my mum and dad picked me off, got the bloody game, it was called off with the snow. And I was hobbling around for a couple of weeks with a leg cut. Bonkers. But, and then we had some right characters at the school, it was brilliant. When I look back, but I must admit, from an education point of view, and if I hadn't been such a rebel, it was an opportunity missed. But you got one life, you've got to live it, and I've always said you've got to live life from the heart.
And one of the great things as well from school is the friendships, even several years on. So you and I, we go to sporting events together. We're supposed to be one in a couple of weeks' time. It's not going to happen now, obviously. But we go to the cricket and we do the other bits and pieces there. And getting together with there are 4 or 5 others as well, we have such a great time, don't we? I mean, it's decades later, but we seem to get on better now than we ever did at school even.
I think it's fantastic. And everyone's so genuine as well. That's what I love about it all. It is great, and it's great to have, how can I put it? It's great to have that door that opens to your past. Because obviously when you're young, that is, when you're formative years, that's when things mean so much, even the little things. And of course, we grew up together and we shared so many things at a time when everything was new and everything was fun. And to have that access to those memories through other people, and you remember them as they were. I mean, they were all slim and young and good looking. Now look at us, all fat and bloated, tattooed or whatever. But it's just great to look back at those memories. You can never take them away. That's the thing about memories. Even when someone dies or bad things happen, you can close your eyes, but memories are there forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking of memories, John, just to finish with for today, how would you like to be remembered?
I don't care about being remembered, if I'm honest. It's just about living life. I'm just here to live life, watch Pompey, do the bookshop, keep my dad's legacy going, hopefully secure the shop for future generations of the family. But if not, secure as a continuation of the bookshop further in the future, even if it's not in the family. I like to try and do good things for people, help people out if I can, mates, family. But I've always said in life the most important thing is family and friends. Without them, you can have all the money in the world. What's the point? But if you haven't got good family, and you haven't got good friends, what is the point of life? I'd hate to live in a big house and have a big car, but you can't talk to a house or a car. But you can talk to friends and family, and it comes from there as well. And I'm lucky to have had a lovely family: my mum, my father, my brother, and my sister, and we were a small family, but it was great. And I think that's what made it so nice, because we didn't have so many distractions and we didn't have so many troubles. And then friends, you can't beat friends, and that's what life's about. Because you're a long time dead. It's not a dress rehearsal. You've got to enjoy it while it's here. You've got to enjoy the moment, and that's why the country's got to get back to work. We've got to do things, and people can't be scared. They can't live by fear. There's no point living. Well, have you heard about these people in Australia? Have you heard about them? They built all these bunkers that they're going to, if there's a nuclear war, they're going to sit in these bunkers in the middle of nowhere. Okay, they're going to have TVs. I can't think of anything worse. I think I'd rather top myself and go in a hole in the ground and just watch TV for the rest of my life. What is the point of that? Being scared silly. These people with money just got so much they haven't got. They just don't get it. They don't get life at all. People are too materialistic these days. They should enjoy life. Material things don't make you happy. People do.
John, it's been a real pleasure seeing you. I look forward to getting together again soon when we're allowed to. In the meantime, take care. Look after yourself, mate. All right?
Thank you, Andy.
Good to see you. Thanks a lot, John. Take care. Cheers. Bye. Bye. So the last time I saw you, John, we were at the cricket. Remind me of that day.
Oh, Andy, you were on one. It was so funny. You just made me giggle. Everything about you was great. You were completely bonkers, but that's what I loved about it. It was brilliant. You were so nice and funny. It was just great. And all the other lads, it was just great. And you could feel that within that group, even though we don't see each other, like I haven't seen each other for a long time, there is a real bond. And I thought that was great. And obviously that bond goes back 40 years. And as I was saying earlier on, it was just, it's nice to have that access to the past.
Yeah, no, we had a great laugh. And we're going to have many more, John. It's going to be brilliant.
It will be. You were bonkers, but very funny, mate.
Coming from John, that's got to be a compliment. That's got to be good. Brilliant, mate. You take care. Look after yourself. I'll see you soon, yeah?
Take care, mate. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye. There you go. So that was John. It's like great to catch up with him. I love the passion that he shows, and interesting. It's an interesting insight into that sort of life. And I'll give all the details of the bookshop. Whatever you can do, order online. We need to keep the independent sellers supported. So love the fact that it all went viral beforehand. Love the fact he got lots of people from around the world writing to him and ordering stuff. Do that. He's a great, great guy. I've been Andrew Eborn. It's been a real adventure. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any thoughts, if you want to be on the show yourself, write to me at lol, that's LOL, at octopustv.com. Comment in the comments below. Subscribe to Octopus TV for more of this exciting content. But for now, I've been Andrew Eborn. You've been great. Thank you so much. Be good, stay well, and stay alert.